Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming today to listen to our proposal about conducting business in China. On our global product implementation team, we have Kelsey Davis, Kyle Jacobs, Alejandra Martinez, Adrian Scarth, and Derek Bies. In the first portion of the proposal, we will review the Hofstede Cultural Dimension scores in comparison to the United States. We will explore China's culture characteristics and provide different bargaining strategies and tools. The Chinese government structure and business fundamentals will be discussed for your understanding. The Economic Freedom Index for China is given in comparison to the world average, and establishing new business processes will be presented. We have found both strengths and weaknesses regarding China, and we have included any concerns or recommendations to assist our business decisions. The differences between China and the United States on the Hofstede Cultural Dimensions Analysis tool can be seen on the graph pictured here. China and the United States match closely in masculinity and uncertainty avoidance, so we shouldn't expect to see any issues in these areas. The Chinese deal with things sensibly and realistically in a way that is based on practical rather than theoretical considerations. They believe that truth depends on situation, context, and time. They show an ability to adapt traditions easily to change conditions. The Chinese culture, in general, shows a strong propensity to save and invest, along with being determined in achieving results. China is considered a restrained society when it comes to the indulgence category. China has a tendency and inclination to believe that people are motivated purely by self-interest and have a tendency to see the worst aspects of things and believe the worst will happen. They also do not put much emphasis on leisure time and control the gratifications of their desires. These differences suggest the products that we intend to sell must be thoroughly made and tested to ensure that the products are realistic, practical, and would fulfill a need for their family rather than just an individual desire.
Now we're going to talk about global business culture. As far as communication in China, their culture is high context. Their communication is implicit. They expect the person to interpret the message, and most of the messages are inferred and not openly expressed. In business, they prefer indirect negative feedback and expect the recipients to take ownership for their shortcomings without being directly told. As far as meeting, China avoids confrontation, disagreement, and debate, and this actually can have a negative impact in our relationship with them. Open conflict is inappropriate, and it will break the group conquer. The scheduling culture is very flexible. They can be various items, and interruptions are accepted. They appreciate and value adaptability and flexibility. China is also a strongly group-oriented culture.
Chinese bargaining strategies are highly influenced by their culture, which includes a high context communication style and a non-linear relationship with time. They're also low indulgent and accept high levels of risk. These cultural aspects lead to certain strategies that need to be understood when going into bargaining sessions with a Chinese company. For example, they do tend to use timing as leverage. Especially against westernized cultures who have a much more linear relationship with time. They do this so that the bargaining is put at the very end of, let's say, an American's timetable, which adds stress to that American businessman who feels they need to catch the plane or get on with their schedule, and so they will make certain concessions within the bargaining session. This is what these Chinese companies are looking for. There's also communication cues that need to be picked up on, and so having a translator handy is a very good business practice so that you can understand the information that is being given through nonverbal cues. Taking time to build relationships is also very paramount, and doing so properly is extremely important. For example, because they are low indulgent, building a relationship by taking them to a restaurant and buying everything on the menu is not really going to work. So be sure to take time in building that relationship and building that level of trust and being a little bit more flexible in your scheduling. It's important to understand the government structure of China, especially in business dealings. China is a communist country, which means that the government has an extremely high rate of control and power. It's currently led by Xi Jinping since 2012. Currently, China sets up a central committee who then chooses what's called the Politburo, which then choose their own committee, and that committee wields considerable power. Some very important political developments include pro-democracy protests in Hong Kong that have been met with extreme violence and resistance from the government, with many Hong Kong citizens being beaten and jailed and prosecuted, including minors. There have also been constant battles, particularly with the United States, over trade agreements and tariffs, especially during the presidency of Donald Trump, who was very hard with the Chinese government to ensure that trade agreements were fair for the United States. The relationship between U.S. and China is very uncertain at this point. Again, with President Trump, there was a lot of pushback against China. Now, with a new U.S. President, Joe Biden, it is unclear how he will handle the relationship with China, and thus our business dealings, or the United States' business dealings with China, is uncertain.
The Economic Freedom Index, or EFI, is an index that measures the freedom of the economy of a country. China is ranked 103 out of 186 countries, with an overall EFI score of 59.5. In the last year, China has managed to increase their score by 1.1 points. This is mainly due to changes in business policies as well as property rights. As you can see from different categories, China is still struggling and has very low scores in both investment freedom and financial freedom. This is largely due to the fact that the country as a whole still favors non-transparent, state-owned enterprises. Starting a business with auto entails seems to be worth the consideration. Some concerns we look for when starting and doing business within China would be governmental challenges, security, and customer preference. Protecting the digital security of our company would be one of the top issues we could face, with serious ramifications in China. There would be necessary steps to combat cyber attacks, losing customer data, and possibly damaging our brand because of this. Another concern would be identifying value within our customer base. Not being from a Chinese cultural background, it brings issues with understanding preferences and value from our customers. A solution would be to hire someone who would research a marketing segment to find our target customers and businesses. There are many laws and restrictions that differ from those in the United States, so we would also need a legal team who would dig into the government laws to establish a business with integrity and honesty that will obey and follow government procedures.
Now, we will discuss the economic issues and foreign exchange in China. We identify them as we analyze foreign direct investment, the current purchasing power parity, and the value of the yuan. We provided recommendations for your consideration on the advantages of investing in China, and prepared the proposal of 3 new products. Along with your analysis, you will find graphs and data to show comparisons.
Designation of being a most favored nation comes from acceptance within the World Trade Organization, and it indicates that as a nation you participate in fair trade, you have reasonable tariffs and reasonable prices, among other things. China joined the WTO in 2001 and thus enjoys a most favored nation designation. The average MFN score for China is 7.6, and most trade and prices are expected to be reasonable for things other than things like sugar, confectionaries, and beverages, which include many tariffs upon those products. So other products that we may be looking to get into would indicate that fair trade should be expected.
China has a relatively restricted investment environment for foreign investors. Some of these restrictions include ownership caps and requirements to form joint venture partnerships with local Chinese firms, industrial policies, as well as pressures on U.S. firms to transfer technology as a prerequisite to gaining market access. To attract foreign investment, certain regional governments, provinces, and municipalities offer incentive packages tailored to their economies and available resources. China strongly encourages foreign investment primarily in high technology, clean energy, and export-oriented sectors. Guangdong Province recently announced cash rewards of up to $14.56 million for qualified investment projects and accelerated the market opening of previously restricted industries, among other investment incentives. If the company was to invest in or create a product in the technology and or clean energy sector, and focuses mainly in provinces and municipalities offering this incentive, this would have the best impact not only on the company in forms of investment incentive packages from these area governments, but also help the economy within China itself. The PPP measures the purchasing power of a country. Currently, China's PPP is $23.21 trillion, which makes them the strongest currency in the world. Their GDP looks healthy and has been growing, except for a dip in 2020. Their inflation rate is currently sitting at 2.92%, which is higher than the average 2% suggested by the World Bank. Their interest rates are currently sitting at 4.05%, which is a decrease of 0.3% in the last 2 years.
China operates under a semi-fixed method of determining the value of their currency, which is called the yuan. This has led to a pretty stable value of that currency over the last 5 years. There hasn't been much fluctuation there. This is attractive for importers and exporters as exchange rates have been fairly static and return on investment can be pretty similar to the investment itself as far as value is concerned. Despite this control, value can drop if investors deem that the yuan is overvalued. Much like the stock market, it becomes a psychological issue where people begin to sell off that currency. This has some precedent in Great Britain in the early 90s. Because of this, hedging is highly recommended, given the power that the government has in connection with the value of their currency. Hedging is a way to try to cover the losses that are inherent with exchange currencies. A futures contract seems to be the safest form of hedging in this situation. It would guarantee the same value on the return on the investment as was placed on the investment itself. We feel that one product that would do well in China is an electrical wood pellet smoker that would be used for smoking meat to have good American-style barbecue. We do feel that there is a demand there. Chinese culture is used to smoking food and smoking meat, but that's usually done by street vendors, and it's very bulky and messy and usually frowned upon. However, smoked barbecue meat in the style of American barbecue is not common in China, in restaurants or any other location. And so we feel this could be a unique product that would allow people to get a taste that is uniquely American. Direct competition is pretty sparse. Most meat smoking units are marketed to commercial buyers within China, so restaurants that are used to smoke fish and things of that nature. It's not marketed to individual households. There are a couple of barriers, one including the Chinese government, which could deem these smokers as a pollutant. However, smokers have become very clean in the last few years, especially the wood pellet smokers. Also, the unit would need to be small. Large units would not be a viable solution in China, as most people are living in apartments or in high-rises. They don't have the type of land or property that is usually associated with having big barbecue smoking units.
China leads the world in solar power, and the solar industry in China is expected to continue to grow. Air pollution in China significantly reduces output from solar panels. It is estimated that up to 35% of power is lost in areas of eastern China, depending on how often solar panels are cleaned. Due to their collectivist culture, the Chinese people tend to act in the interest of the group. We feel that many Chinese people will be interested in clean energy and helping not only themselves but others as well as the environment. At the same time, China is a restrained society. This would mean that we need to focus our marketing efforts to show the benefits, financial savings, and earth-friendly product that we offer. Solar panels are already being manufactured in China, so this means we can import the self-cleaning portion of the product to be combined with and have manufacturing completed within China. The last product for our proposal is Keep Dry shoes. For a market like China where driver's licenses are difficult to come by and most people walk to work or to shop, and with the ever-changing climate in China where there could be torrential rain or very cold weather, this shoe will keep feet 100% dry in the rain as well as keep them warm during cold winter days. At the moment, there is nothing like it on the market, so we have a competitive edge. Although tariffs may be high at first, this should not put us off from entering the market. There are many shoe shops in China, so we can use them as current distribution line and can market there first while we build up our brand. Then, plan to open our own stores if sales support it. We do want to thank you for your time today. We would love to answer any questions at this time.